All right, it is 9:30, Thursday, July 25th, 2024. We're here for a discussion of the Moon Pass Slide Repair Design Service Agreement. Has to be the longest title of the week, so it must be important. So,
it is.
Ms. Dusky, what do you got?
So this is tied to the Slide on Moon Pass. We have finished up clearing the roadway open to traffic. But now this is the second phase. We qualified for emergency assistance through FEMA and as well through Federal Highways, their ER program. And so we're working actively back and forth with FEMA on the first portion of us clearing. The second portion that goes through Federal Highways started when we started crushing the material and spreading the material on the roadway. And it will continue into some of the extra mitigation that they will pay for. They're calling them, temporary emergency repairs, preventative. And so I touched on this before. ITD had their board meeting yesterday, and they did agree to advance Shoshone County the money for the project for the ER portion through Federal Highways. So we're not having to come up with the money to pay the consultants and the contractors for this next phase. And then waiting for reimbursement because they've approved up to $1.2 million for the Federal Highways portion of this project. And so what this does is it will function very similar to when we have like our federal aid bridge agreements and contracts through them. So ITD will be involved. They are fronting the money. LTAC will be administering everything. They'll be administering anything that has to go out to bid will go through LTAC. It won't be like a bid opening here at Shoshone County. It'll go through LTAC. And so we are just considered the sponsor for this project. And so they did do a resolution where they've accepted this into their system, their Idaho Transportation Investment Program, to advance the funds. They're doing this for another county as well that declared an emergency tied to ours. So what this agreement through Geoengineers does is it allows them to finish up the scope and the plan for this next phase, which will most likely include smaller scale blasting, some bolting, possibly some shotcrete for some of the unstable slopes that still remain right in the vicinity of the slide. And this is all work that, once Geoengineers gets done with their planning, they'll do the construction oversight. This is nothing that's going to tie up our resources and workforce. This is something that's all going to be contracted out. So this agreement today is for Geoengineers through the planning portion and the construction oversight of this project, and it is in the amount of $155,480. This is all paid for 100% through Federal Highways, so we're not having to match this money. And if you look through your packet, it's on the page that is before the map. And then there's the project total at the bottom, $155,480.
I left mine on my desk. I'm sorry. I was just looking. I know I just had it before I came in here.
I didn't even see one on my desk, so I'm really
Do you want mine?
I'll take your word for it and read through mine. Yeah. Find it.
This contract looks very similar to the services agreement, kind of the same format and style as when we authorized them to do the safety oversight at the beginning of the project. So this is a different contract, starting the next phase of the project.
Now on that, I remember sitting in on that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
How have we figured out how much of a match we're going to have on some of the others?
So we're only going to have to match the FEMA portion, and we're still going back and forth as to where that $100,000 from LTAC for their emergency LRIP fits in. FEMA, we're still sitting with a check on my desk, not cashed, as per instructions from LTAC. FEMA wants us to use that first $100,000 as like a deductible, you know, like we use that money first. LTAC says that they are the payer of last resort, and so we're still going back and forth. No matter what, we're going to be made whole for that portion. It's just the back and forth right now. We were pushing hard to get an agreement with ITD so they could open up their funds and get a project set up so we could get that money advanced to us. But right now we're going to have no more than a 10% match on the FEMA portion, and depending on where things land, it's probably going to be in the vicinity of $20,000.
And that can't be matched with that has to be cash.
That has to be cash. Yes. Well, it doesn't. We don't have to pay the cash. You know, we've already expended, so we're going to be getting reimbursement for our equipment usage, our labor, our overtime costs. So that will be easily absorbed in our budget. So we're not going to have to just write a check for it.
So it's in kind, right?
Yeah, it's in kind. So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be just the, you know, the cash, and we will show that. So we're working heavily. We've just been underwater with FEMA back and forth. We're going to have weekly meetings. There's just a ton of paperwork and documentations and calculations that need to go to them to ensure that we're splitting everything correctly between the FEMA portion and the federal highways portion. And so that's going to be an active process for probably the next month or so. So I won't have an exact final FEMA number until I get the final okay approval from FEMA. So right now we're in the documentation exchange portion of the project.
Yeah, that's good that we have
Mhm.
in time that we can. that'll
We
help.
went from the one problem of not having anybody to help fund this project to having 3,
Mhm.
4 funding sources. So
That's good.
we're very fortunate. So we're happy to jump through the hoops with the paperwork on this one.
You guys have done excellent.
Thank you.
Good
Getting all
job
that.
on the collecting money.
Yes.
Yes.
Any further questions from the board on this?
No?
No.
Anything further you'd like to add?
I don't think at this
What you're
time.
requesting today is that we approve this contract with Geo Engineers.
Yes, correct.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the services agreement with Geotechnical Observation Services.
I'll second it.
Second. Further discussion, last chance?
No.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that is approved and done, and thank you, Lori, for loaning me that. That's heavy. Okay.
And then I would just need a signature on this.
They always do, but that would cost you.
Okay.
All right. Okay, well, with that, we'll go to public comment.
I just want to make clear there's nothing else, because last time we had a meeting, I learned more in the newspaper than I did sitting in the meeting. And Ms. Cassidy, after a comment yesterday, are you gonna have comments to the paper after this meeting?
It depends on if they contact me.
Okay, it's amazing what that thing will pick up, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Lori, any comments? Okay, with that, we are adjourned.
5 months.